Today we are going to be looking at the paragon of cuteness and fluffiness. We are going to be descending upon the gracious world of Neko Paradise, and hopes to find meaning in catgirls doing cat-like things. Today, we are going to be taking a look at Nekopara Volume 1. Nekopara features our main character Kasho as he moves out of the house and his den of catgirls to open up his own independent bakery, only for that to completely fall apart as catgirls Chocolate and Vanilla follow him via ship order boxes. Now, after playing through 10 hours of Nekopara, I can understand the massive appeal of this beloved visual novel. Sometimes, there are those days when you're tired from the long hours of work and the lack of sleep, all while the world is falling apart either by forest fire, pending economic crisis, or our failing faith in humanity. So it's completely understandable to sit down and relax with some 2D anime catgirls, the ultimate combination of anime waifus and pet cats. Chocolate and Vanilla have all of the quirks and behaviors of cats, but they can also talk to you as well, in an overly affectionate manner. The girls will provide quite the heartwarming atmosphere as they fawn over you, their beloved master. You'll feel an inherent desire to fawn and take care of these girls, much like when a pet cat would snuggle up next to you. At least I think so. I wouldn't know. I've never had a pet, or a genetically engineered catgirl, or a woman. Unexpectedly, Nekopara has thought-provoking world building in its catgirl paradise, and it's got me strangely curious. In random lines of dialogue, you'll get to learn about the various ins and outs about first world cat problems, like catgirl identification papers, independent work permits, and societal catgirl norms. Complex as I make it seem to be, don't look too deep into it, saying it's a look into the ethical and moral aspects of human and catgirl power dynamics and fetishism. It's Nekopara, a visual novel where you can live with catgirls, and them too. Speaking of living with catgirls, I found Nekopara to be very educational. Again, I've never owned a cat before, so all of my knowledge about cat mating cycles comes from Nekopara, and thus will be my reference material when I end up getting jailed by the FBI for following proper procedure. I joke, but the 18+ scenes are as affectionate as Chocolate's loving personality and as Vanilla herself. I also think that the 18+ H scenes are the best drawn artwork in the whole visual novel. Bless Sayori's artwork, truly cultured. Sayori is the sole artist of Nekopara, and her artwork is the strongest part of the visual novel in its great production. Her vibrant, warm backgrounds combined with the pretty character designs are centerpieces, and along with strong voice actor performances and Nekopara's usage of its animated sprites and facial expressions, makes for an attractive visual novel. The music, while containing a small selection of tracks, all have that lighthearted, calm, joyous feeling, fitting the comfy atmosphere. I also do commend their consistently catty titles. It's quite perfect. But then we get to the worst part of Nekopara. Nekopara is boring. There is no story in Nekopara, and what little plot conflicts there are feels like minor disagreements or inconveniences and is quickly resolved. Our main character is as generic as plain cake, Vanilla rarely shows any emotion at first, and Chocolate's loving personality can only go so far. Nekopara is meant to be a slice-of-life work, but these slice-of-life events' tone are as flat as Vanilla's chest, with the chest bounciness setting set to rock bottom. Only in the rare instance where Shigure appears, the little sister full of chaotic energy, is where some semblance of amusing character interactions come into the story, albeit it's just more energetic catgirls doing cat-like activities. I will admit, in the last 3 chapters of the story, Nekopara emphasizes on the value of family, and it ends on a pretty wholesome conclusion in its first real conflict. Getting there is the problem, though. In conclusion, Nekopara is a very niche and nice looking visual novel in which it's wonderfully praised through the 1 to 2 sentence Steam reviews. After all, when you stare into the catgirls stare back at you, and next thing you know, you're in too deep in more ways than one. You can only truly understand the intricacies of Nekopara if you're morally reprehensible. Luckily for me, I managed to regain my sanity halfway through and lived to tell the tale. This cat tale if you prefer. The 18+ scenes are very nice, and I won't blame you if you're reading Nekopara just for it. But if I was more invested into these characters, I would be more into this. Believe me, I'm all for cute moe blobs and anime waifus, but for me, it's all about that personality value, and I like them nice and meaty, full of development potential. And no, I'm not talking about boob size. But for those of you who want to indulge yourself into some wholesome catgirls, or just want some sweet release from the painful woes of reality, this one should be on your radar, if it wasn't already. And for the former, you can't call yourself a catgirl fan if you haven't read these holy scriptures yet. Now this is only regarding volume 1. I can only imagine that more volumes introduce more catgirls, which is good. because more character actions makes for a more interesting experience. But for someone who's looking for something a little bit more in this Catgirl paradise, this first volume ain't working out for me quite yet, chief. I give Nekopara Volume 1 a 3 out of 5 and a 5 out of 5 for those who've crossed the mortal realm and have reached Catgirl enlightenment. I haven't reached that point myself, and I don't think I will, but call me when Shigure gets a volume for herself, because that's where the real money's at. Subscribe if you liked the video and want to see more. Check back every week for new content. For more of my thoughts, you can find me on Twitter at TheAugustHale.